we are moving south of Europe now, into Africa. And the first place in Africa I wanted to talk about is Rwanda. And when I went there with my family, you're kind of shocked at how developed the city is. And when I'm talking about developed, I'm talking about massive metropolitan development, skyscrapers, the entire thing, everything that comes along with a full city. And we went trekking with the silverback gorillas in the jungle. So we camped up in the jungle, woke up at 5 a.m, hiked in the jungle all day. And, I asked our guides why they had AKs. I'm like, is that if the gorillas attack you? They're like, no, it's if we run into poachers. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this is, we're out here. And it was the most mesmerizing thing ever, like watching. You really understand why we're so related to the kind of ape and monkey families in general with DNA by watching them in their natural habitat in the wild. And the babies would crawl on you, and the alphas, you feel the presence of the alpha, and you're standing on wet vines and you can't move if you want to move. So we got false charged by the alpha, where a false charge is when they pound their chest and run at you, and they don't attack you, but your heart's pumping. We have a video of that.
Did you get that?
It knocked over our guide and another family that was with us when it charged because it grazed them.
That's intense.
And oh my God,
it's just a show of force, right?
Show of dominance, show of force.
Yeah.
And then we left after that because the alpha says when it's time to go. And we also visited the Genocide Museum in Rwanda, which was one of the most sobering experiences of my life, where you're standing on a grave of over 10,000 people. And what the point of the museum is to not only highlight the genocide in Rwanda, but to highlight other genocides throughout history. And the more aware people are of how deadly and how devastating they are, the more we can try to prevent them in the future. And it's hell on earth. A genocide is hell on earth, and it's the worst part of the human mind and soul, is creating anything in that world. And the reason I mention that is because that's what you're supposed to do. When you visit that and you feel that, you're supposed to talk about it. But from Rwanda, we went to Kenya and did the traditional safari trip, the Ngorogongo crater, which was fantastic. And then we kind of got the full safari experience, which was great. And Brock, you have a similar safari experience.
Yeah, I didn't go there for safari, so I was very grateful when I got to see that, because it's nothing like I could explain to anybody, and I don't think you can really understand it. Maybe you can, but I don't think you can understand it unless you've had that experience to be up close to
lions and hyenas.
Exactly, and you
fucking awesome.
I remember seeing a hyena for the first time. I'm like, I had no idea they were that big.
Yeah, they
are big. They're decently sized compared to a lion. Actually, they're
right.
Which is so wild. And seeing, I think the only thing I didn't see out there, which makes sense because they're primarily, endangered, was the rhino. But I remember landing.
You saw leopard? You see a leopard?
Yeah.
Damn. See, that's
way
harder to see.
Yeah, very rare. But I went out there because I had this jewelry line years and years ago who I partnered with a friend of mine, and he had a friend from Denmark who was working at this place called the Karen Blixen Camp. So there's about 10 camps, I want to say, out there that their whole point of existing is they give people experiences to go out there and experience the conservatory, which is where the protected area of land where there's no poaching allowed. So they protect it to protect the animals. So any money that comes in
Kind of
goes,
like our national park system, just
Yeah.
for people out there. Yeah.
so it funnels into the animals, and it also funnels into the people to give them education, to give them opportunity, to give them skill sets like becoming a chef, become a certified chef, and then they can go get a job, and then they can have money to bring back to their families that are just looking to get fresh water and sustainable food and whatever it may be, and so that education helps them, and all the money that goes into those camps, it goes back and funnels back into the community and into the animals. And so it was a very beautiful experience that I'm very grateful I got to be a part of, and we were trying to help raise money in any way that we could through that experience. And I think baboons would run through the the camp.
Yeah, the monkeys are crazy out there, dude. They'll literally, you can't leave your door open or else they'll come in and take all your stuff and mess everything up. And
the bugs are intense. I remember that where we were, there was a watering hole, and so you'd see 50 hippo every morning when you go out and have your coffee or you have dinner out there. And we got charged leaving by a bull elephant, leaving the camp at one day. But there was a point, there's these 2 points where we found a pride of lion, which were primarily full grown. There's probably about 11 of them, and then the mother lion. And then so seeing that and that love that they have for each other is just so
I
wild.
love watching lions play.
And you're in these vehicles with open windows, no tops, no nothing, and you're sitting here like, how does it make any sense that we're sitting here next to these incredible predators and they're unbothered by us, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the elephant, we found a group of elephant, there's probably about 50 of them, and the alpha just comes up to the front of as they're crossing this plain, comes up to the front of our car, and he's just eating grass or whatever it was, staring at us. And the depth that you could feel looking into an elephant's eyes, it's just, I've never seen or felt anything like it. And just being there, experiencing that, unforgettable. It's just one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever experienced, to be honest with you. And Kenya and Africa in general is just such a unique, beautiful place that, I mean, it's I don't even know what to say besides like it took my breath away, and it was amazing that I got the opportunity to be there in any way. So yeah,
I'm with you 100% there. And it is funny you mentioned that, like the Jeeps, they're open and all that. I don't think I ever felt unsafe that entire trip, like anywhere in Africa. I think like just do what you're told, right? Like don't mess anything up and don't do anything totally out of the norm. And like they do a really good job of making you feel safe, and because you are, like the animals don't want to attack you. They want to survive and they want to thrive. And like, unless you're doing anything to, get in an unsafe area, like you really do feel safe.
One of the coolest things about that whole trip, and just like you're saying, you do feel very safe, is the Maasai warriors that we were with. At one point
we did the Maasai too.
We went to track on foot elephants so that we can keep them safe from poachers, to get these necklaces, tracking necklaces, GPS locating, I guess you'll call them a necklace. So we tracked on foot for days with these Maasai warriors, and the one that was leading us, this guy, he came and studied. I think he even taught here in America. Was about 70 years old. He didn't break a sweat on this hike, like miles and miles and miles on foot through Africa. And man, I'm telling you, like, he would go and he'd walk through the forest, which is already pretty intense to navigate. He'd chill and wait for us to catch up. And then he'd go ahead, and then he'd chill and wait for us to catch up. And they can throw these, spears they have with precision accuracy, 100 plus yards, I believe. And after this whole trip, he ended up giving me his spear, which was so cool, but they were just razor sharp on one side. And so I still have it to this day. But that experience of like, meeting this guy that was more well educated than somebody who grew up in, the American education system. He knew more about America and its history than I did, by far. Like this guy was just amazing in every way, shape, or form. So I keep saying my hat's off, but my hat's off to those Maasai warriors, and they're really, really cool people. Really cool people.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the video.
And subscribe and hit the bell for a whole lot more to come.